See the following personal testimony for help with memories that limit your ability to fulfill God's purpose for your life. I have entitled it, Going Free from the Ghosts in Your Closet. Going free from destructive feelings. If wrong feelings come to you consistently, they indicate that there are strongholds of the enemy in your life. These strongholds are nests of lies that you have believed. It is possible to blame our past for any wrong reactions that we have in life. But it is not our past that is the problem, but rather our perspective on what has happened in our past. What we believe about our past is the issue. We need God's perspective on those things so that we can believe correctly. We do and feel because of what we believe. We have feelings because we believe something. Our emotions tell us what we believe. If we believe something that is not true, then our emotions will be contrary to the fruit of the Spirit. As you bring these things into the light of Jesus' love for you, they begin to lose their power. We need to know what God's perspective on these memories is. Begin by asking yourself why you believe what you believe. Does it align with the Bible? Does it align with God's character? Do you have God's perspective? Or do you have your own ideas on what has happened in your past? Trust the fact that your feelings are telling you what you believe. If your feelings are contrary to the fruit of the Spirit, then your believing is out of line with how God sees those things, people, or circumstances. When we believe what God has to say about things, we will experience His power. As we come into God's light, the power of darkness is defeated, and we are changed. Stop right here and talk to God about any negative feelings that you might have. Acknowledge and focus on the negative feeling until a memory comes to mind. If the problem is deep, then staying with the negative feeling may be hard, but you need to stay there until a memory comes to mind. If a number of memories come up, then just go back to the feeling until only one memory comes to the front of your mind. At this point, you need to ask God why you remember it the way that you do, and allow Him to give you a different perspective on what happened in your past. Ask Him how He remembers that instance. When He shows you His picture, you will need to embrace it and put it in where the old one was. As you do this, your emotion will change and you will observe yourself going free. Jesus said that the truth will make you free as you embrace it. John 8:32. When you are willing to acknowledge that any feelings that you may have as reoccurring negative feelings in your life are actually alien to the life of Christ in you, then you are already on the verge of freedom. These feelings are God's way of telling you that something is wrong. As you are honest about how you really feel and bring those feelings to Him, He will change the way you see those negative experiences. He wants to change your perspective, and when He does, you will go free. He wants to change the way that you believe. Remember, we feel and we act as we believe. When we believe correctly, we will experience the fruit of the Spirit in our life instead of the fruit of deception. We will be able to rejoice in trials, James 1:2, like Paul and Silas did after their being beaten and imprisoned, Acts 16. Remember, your emotions tell you what you believe in your heart. If you only believe something in your head, it is not enough. You must believe in your heart. Before you can do that, you need to see things from God's perspective. Ask Him to minister to you when you are reacting out of line with how Jesus would act. If you are reacting negatively, then you are being triggered by your perspective of a memory that is being stored in your subconscious. Allow the Lord to minister to you and give you His perspective. At this point, it is common for the enemy to start accusing you by saying that it is all your fault. It may be that you have done something wrong, and if that is the case, then you need to ask God for forgiveness for your part in whatever went wrong, and then allow Him to cleanse you from guilt. He has come to save you, not to condemn you. John 3:17. It is common for people to blame themselves for allowing negative things to happen in their life. But this is a deception. The devil sets things up and then blames us as the reason for misfortune. He is a liar. It is important that you do not take the blame for someone else's sinful actions or for the results of time and chance. Ecclesiastes 9:11. Remember, we are walking in the light. Do not yield to false condemnation, or you will quench the Holy Spirit who has come to set you completely free. Take as much time here as you need, acknowledging your negative feelings until the Lord brings to your remembrance a picture of something that is causing you to feel the way you feel and to act how you act when triggered. Now, ask Him for His perspective and go free. I used to have an unhealthy fear of snakes since childhood. This fear did not go away when I gave my life to Jesus. I sought to manage this fear, but could not seem to get free of it. I just managed it by encouraging myself that if I died from snakebite, I would go to heaven. So why worry? But the torment continued to be real. I knew that this fear was abnormal, but I was not able to go free from it. We are not called to manage negative emotions, but to be free from them. God's command to Joshua, as he entered the land of Canaan, the land that God was giving to Israel for an inheritance, was to kill the inhabitants of that land, as they were, by wicked works, the enemies of God. The inhabitants of the land were infested with the sins of immorality, homosexuality, idolatry, and witchcraft practices. Joshua was not to manage them, but to eliminate them. Now that you have come to Christ, you are called to do the same. You are called to eliminate the enemies of God and to give them no place in your life. This fear that was stealing my future, and it needed to be eliminated. Before we can destroy our enemies, we need to know that we are not the problem, since we have come to believe in Christ and to put Him first in your life. The problem is now what we believe, not who we are. We were the problem because we yielded to sin that dwelt in us. Romans 7:14-17. But now, if we are indeed saved and have given our life to Christ, we are no longer the problem. It is what we believe that is the problem. When I took time to look at the emotion of fear that I had, I found that a particular picture would come to memory. This picture involved my seeing a scene in a movie when I was very young. In this movie, someone wanted to kill a certain person, and so that they would not be seen as the murderer, they put 2 poisonous snakes in the tent with the sleeping man, so that the snakes would bite and kill him. In the movie, the snakes wrapped themselves around the sleeping person, who was completely unaware and therefore unable to help or defend himself. That is how I felt. I immediately saw myself as that sleeping person and ran out of the room. I did not see the snakes bite the man, but imagined that they did. Fear entered my heart and thereafter triggered me whenever I was in a place where snakes might live and therefore have a chance to get me. I felt paralyzed to help myself because of the fear that gripped me. Fear paralyzes us. Faith energizes us. I certainly was not experiencing the fruit of the Spirit, but rather the fruit of fear. How did I get free? God had previously given me the key to complete victory over lust by showing me that love defeats lust every time. I just needed to ask God for a picture of how love would serve someone and then put that picture into my mental slide projector, instead of the old picture that stimulated lust. I was then to act in line with that picture. As I acted on that picture, I experienced freedom. If I was to use that same principle that I had used to defeat lust, instead of trying to fight it, then I could go free from this fear of snakes too. I could go free if I was willing to follow the instructions that God was giving me by means of giving me a new picture. One time when I was asking God about my fear of snakes and any other creature that I would be powerless against, He revealed to me that the same principle that He had showed me with regard to defeating lust would work with defeating fear. People could defeat lust by replacing the picture that fed the spirit of lust with a picture of loving someone and by serving them sacrificially. This principle could be applied to my fear of snakes. Wow, I just needed His perspective on that picture that had logged in my subconscious when I saw that movie scene as a young boy. What was God's perspective for me in that situation? God showed me that He saw me as His son who would experience His protection. I actually saw that those snakes in the scene, after wrapping themselves around the man's warm sleeping body, simply moved on and out of the tent. Wow again, I had failed to see God's perspective on how He might save one of His children. This was amazing. Immediately I felt safe in His love, and scriptures began to come to my mind, like Psalm 91:7, where 10,000 will fall at my side, but it shall not come near me. He continued to encourage me with 2 other truths that He had given me experience in. One was a time when I was fasting and praying to be closer to Him, and He moved me to leave a particularly grassy spot in the bush where I had been laying. He caused me to leave that spot and to get into my car and close the door. Just then, a 10-foot-long brown snake charged out of the bush and straightway came to where I had been laying a moment before. It curled and thrashed around what would have been my body. My heart pounded as I watched what would have been certain death for me, but God had moved me out just in time to avoid the disaster. The next truth was that in the event of an accident, or if I was ever to be affected by an attack, that I would most certainly recover. Just like Paul took no harm when the snake bit him on the island of Melita, Acts 28:3-6, God assured me of his protection. Regardless of what might happen if I would continue to live as a living sacrifice to him, Romans 12:1-2. I have also seen this kind of deliverance from evil in 2 car accidents. So, from these 3 experiences, I have seen the following. He will cause the enemy to leave me. The snakes just moved away. He will cause me to escape from the situation. I was moved away from harm's way. He will cause me to recover completely. The effects would be removed from me, so I need not worry. What a revelation. This is his promise to us all if we seek him and find his perspective on what has happened in our past. What the enemy wants to use against us, God will use to strengthen our knowledge of his overarching power and love. He will make all things work together for the good of those who love him and for those who seek to fulfill his purpose for them on this earth. Romans 8:28. Remember that his primary purpose is that we might be conformed to his image, and that this transformation will result in many others being added to God's family. We do and feel because of what we believe. If you have God's perspective, then you will experience the power of truth and you will be free. See the separate attachment 1b, Breaking Strongholds.